don't know if you guys were like me, but when I looked at the agenda, I kind of very quickly circled this session as something of a peak interest that I really wanted to check out. I think we all, one of the really interesting things to me about Facebook is that every single one of us has our own connection and our own relationship with Facebook, and that may be a very personal, voyeuristic aspect of it or the communication side, but in some aspect, it's really changed all of our lives. And after really spending some time with Ben, it's been kind of interesting to see that in the DNA of Ben and people at Facebook, it really is about changing the world. And it comes across really authentically when you talk about him. So really excited to hear about this. A quick little background on Ben. Before he joined Facebook, Ben's had several design positions, and he was at CBS. And this is a story for another time, but one of the more interesting facts that I've learned about Ben is one of the few people, and I'm guessing the only person in the room, who was actually called out on live TV by David Letterman for his public firing. So it's an interesting story to kind of hear and find out later. But for now, Ben Blumenfeld from Facebook. I hope you guys really enjoy this. It should be a lot of fun.
How you guys doing? Is this on? Is this good? Awesome. I was hoping for a little more dance party participation. My name is Ben Blumenfeld. I'm a design lead at Facebook. This is my Twitter handle. I want to make sure, as I'm going through this, I really want to hear feedback and your thoughts on all this stuff that I talk about today, because I think it's something that it's not enough for me to just talk about it and then have it maybe or maybe not affect people. I really want to hear, is it working? Is it not working? Should we modify it in any way? So the main thing I'm going to talk to you guys today about is impact and ways that the Facebook design team approaches design to have more impact. And when we talk about more impact, it's basically affecting more people, affecting people in a stronger way, and then also just doing more design faster. So that's going to be the topic. All right, this is the Facebook design team, or at least this is what it was a few years ago. And the makeup of the team is this. So we have about 30 designers. Some are communication design. Most are product designers. The product designers are the designers that are doing Facebook events and photos and groups and everything else. We have 12 user interface engineers. These are the people that are designing the front-end code of all the things that you use. This is a recent team to Facebook, and it allows designers to iterate much faster. 7 researchers. They keep us honest, make sure that the designs that we implement are actually having the intended effect, right? You get it in front of people, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. They also started doing a lot more upfront research to figure out what we should be doing. 5 managers, not that many. They deal mostly in logistics, actually. They're not our, creative overlords. And then 3 content strategists. Actually, we just added 1 more. What's missing from this group of people? What? CEO? That's actually true, yeah. What? A president? Creative director, right? Kids are running the asylum. Where's the creative director that everything needs to go pipe through the creative director, right? Like, how do we do this? That doesn't make sense. CEO actually, though, has a big part to play in that. So I'll talk to you guys a little bit about how we do that. To give you guys a little bit of scale, this is how many people we impact. We saw that little thing about charts. So that's the size of our team, and that's kind of the Facebook audience, right? So that little speck, how do we affect that many people? So let's start with a little Facebook history. In 2006, these 2 guys, Marcel and Putnam, they were 19, and a mutual friend notified them of a bug in the Facebook code base. And the friend knows that these 2 guys are kind of hackerish in nature, and he pointed them in the right direction. And so the 2 set up on 2 independent projects. Actually Putnam figured out a way for any sort of hack to go and propagate through the Facebook system. And Marcel created this, FaceSpace. Basically, anyone that got this hack, their Facebook profile would be updated with this nice visual change. Never say that hackers don't have a sense of humor. So this mutual friend sees these 2 projects happening in tandem, and he puts the 2 kids together, and he says, you guys should unleash this on Facebook. And they're like, yes. And so within a week, they kind of collaborated to figure out how they were going to do it. and unleash this worm, this bug, onto the Facebook system. Within a few hours, thousands of profiles were starting to be converted to this stuff. Our engineers caught it, right, within a few hours, shut it down, and Dustin Moskovitz, who was a small part in the movie but a huge part of Facebook's history, found their contact info, contacted them, and said, guys, next time you find a bug or a vulnerability in the Facebook code base, let us know instead of hacking it. And by the way, how would you guys like to come out to California? Now, Putnam, who's 19 and is very much in touch with the community, knows that a few months prior, a similar situation happened at MySpace. The guy was told, come out to California. When he got off the plane, police were waiting for this guy, and he was arrested and taken to jail. So he's kind of has some reservations, but he takes a leap of faith. They go to California, they interview at Facebook within a few hours, and we offer them a job. They accept. They drop out of school the next day. One of them becomes our head of security. And both of them have gone on to be hugely instrumental in the history of Facebook. Putnam single-handedly wrote, not single-handedly, him and two other guys wrote Facebook video, for example. So why is this so important, this story, especially when contrasted with kind of MySpace's history? It shows the way we embrace hackers. And when we talk about hackers, it's not necessarily people that are going out there and hacking into banks or whatever, but people who like to tinker with things, who like to learn by doing, who like to get their hands dirty, right? And a big part of the innovation that happens at Facebook is the support of that culture. And a big part of doing that is our hackathons. How many of you guys have heard about Facebook hackathons? A few of you. Hackathons are basically overnight events. They were started very early on in the company. They start at 8 p.m., they end at 6 in the morning, and your only job or your only goal of the hackathon is to ship something at the end of this thing. So you have about 10 hours from start to finish to put something out there. Facebook video, Facebook chat, amongst other things, were all the result of hackathons. So they're pretty instrumental in our innovation. The other rule of hackathons is that you can't work on something you normally work on. It has to be something completely different. So we have these things, we have these hackathons, and making sure that as our company grows, we want to make sure that attendance is high and people are fired up to go to them. And so a hackathon about 9 months ago was going to go down, and one of the organizers came to the design team and said, guys, I need your help to make sure that people attend the upcoming hackathon. And by the way, you guys have 48 hours. And as a design team, a lot of the times you get these fire drill requests, and your first instinct is to be like, nah, we're not touching this with a 10-foot pole. This is just like shit show waiting to happen. But Facebook has this mentality of move fast, right? So we thought, well, as a design team, what if we used an approach that we often use in the site and applied it to this project? And that's the first approach I want to talk to you guys about, and this idea of ship and iterate. Amongst designers, ship and iterate is almost blasphemous, because the idea is put out something that's not perfect, that's good enough, see how people react to it, and then iterate on that. In web design, you can see how this would be much easier to do, but I'm going to show you how we did it with a communication design project. So the first thing we did that morning is we created this mark. We took barcodes, because we thought barcodes kind of encode information. Engineers love kind of visual metaphors. So we created this within a few hours. And the first thing we did, we took some Avery regular labels and printed the mark on these labels and put it on all the food all over the office. So already, as people were going to lunch, they kind of had to pause and see this thing. Then we started printing out posters. Another designer took the mark and created a stencil out of it, not even knowing what we would do, but another designer took that and started spray painting the stencil all over the place. And already we started seeing people kind of ask us, wait, what's going on? When's the hackathon? And it wasn't like we had this grand plan of what we wanted to do. It was just like, make the mark, put it out there, see how people react to it, make more, get it out in more places. we saw engineers starting to take the mark and make it their own. So this was an engineer who put this in front of all the other engineers. When you first logged into your developer sandbox, you would get this, right? So all of a sudden it's, designers are very like, oh, let designers do the design. But we think like, how can we create more designers? I mean, this is all made out of ASCII characters. Like, this is a very difficult, time-consuming thing to do. We printed out a bunch of patterns, again, not knowing what we were going to do. It's just like print them out, see what's going to happen. One of the designers said, well, I have some wheat paste. What if we started wheat pasting them all over the office? Right? We have this idea of like, put stuff up. Nothing is sacred, right? The office feels very alive. It feels like we can make and break things in the office. So we started tearing the edges, making it look really, street. And then engineers said, do you guys have any stickers? We want to put this on our laptops. So instead, we have a couple designers who have a background in silk screening. We took the laptops and silk screened directly onto the laptops. IT departments love this. So they were like, okay, don't do it to too many computers. I think we did about 150. And the night of the hackathon, we told everyone, bring shirts, bring boxers, bring blankets, whatever you want. We're going to be silk screening all night long. And we made custom custom shirts for everyone that was there during the hackathon. And it kind of introduced a lot of the engineers to getting your hands dirty with physical things. So the result for this was our largest hackathon ever, right? And for a company that is just laser focused on innovation and making sure that people are just cranking out crazy ideas, this is huge for us. So for you guys, think about all those projects that you have 75% of the way there, 80% of the way there, and you kind of want to get that last little bit of perfection or those features done. Well, what happens if you just put it out there and saw how people reacted to it? These are all the features that Facebook Photos did not launch with. How many of you guys have used Flickr? Great site, really cool. If you're going to build a competitor to Flickr, most of us in this room would be like, okay, well, Flickr has all this. We got to do this and then some, right? Flickr has 5 billion photos on it. Facebook Photos gets a Flickr's worth of photos every month. We measure ourselves using our competitor. That's probably a good sign that you're doing well. So when we launched Facebook Photos, the only feature that it had, other than all these, does anyone know? Tagging. Tagging was the killer Facebook Photos feature. You have tagging and you have the news feed, and that's all you need to create a photo product that trumps all of them. Facebook Photos also, if you take every single photo product out there and multiply it by 3x, that's how many photos we do. So again, it's thinking about what are all these features that you have, all these, the last few bits that you're thinking like, oh, well, I got to finish this before I put the stuff out there, and can you get it out sooner? See how people react to it, because once people use the things that you guys are producing, you'll get a much different sense of how you can improve on it and iterate on it. So ship and iterate is the first one. Second approach that we use to design at Facebook is being data informed. And I really love the difference of data informed versus being data driven. People in the Valley really love a data driven approach. And I think a lot of companies also love the data driven approach. The difference is saying that data is not going to be the ultimate thing that guides your decision, but rather it's one input amongst many that will let you make the decisions that you want to make, right? So let's look at something. This is a product, and I recently did a bunch of research on Facebook ads. This is a product that a lot of companies would run in a very data-driven way, and I would bet that actually most companies run their ad, if they're a if they're a company that their whole business relies on ad revenue, I would guarantee you that most of them run their ads business on a very data-driven approach, meaning generate more money, and if it generates more money, it's doing well, right? It's pretty simple. If I put most people here in charge of that, that's what they would do. Facebook revenue for our Facebook ad system is actually not the high-level goal. The high-level goal is quality. Much more difficult to measure, right? There is data that kind of feeds into what a quality ad system would be, but it's not the end-all, be-all. And what's actually interesting is that when we actually try to prove that quality leads to more engagement on the site, we failed. In fact, people use Facebook despite getting bad ads. We know this. But we've put a stake in the ground that says we want a quality experience on Facebook, and we believe that over the long term, having quality ads will lead to revenue growth. So that's kind of the stake that we put in the ground. So let's take a look at some Facebook ads. This is a set of ads that I got recently, right? The top one is pretty good. I like traveling. We're at the Westin Hotel, so nice. And then the bottom two are design ads. So pretty good set of ads. And if I were to put someone in charge of improving on Facebook ads, you would say, well, that's pretty simple, right? These are like text and little tiny images. Like, this sucks, right? So you'd say, like, let's make it richer, right? Let's put a big giant banner, videos that play in line, videos that you can play and you can thumb through. This ad is at the top of YouTube. How many of you guys have seen this at the top of Facebook? Yeah, it's never existed there. What about this, right? Nice, big, what is this called? Like a skin, right? So you're like, dude, let's make ads like this. It's going to improve click-through, get advertisers more presence on Facebook. And if you're at a data-driven company and offer these solutions, you would probably be doing the right thing, right? More people would click on this. It would yield better results for the advertiser short term, and you'd probably be promoted. At Facebook, if you offered these solutions to our ad system, you'd be fired on the spot. The reason is because we don't feel that a system where we want advertisers to be an equal partner in this whole ecosystem, if they look like this big billboard versus like a conversation that's happening, that's not going to get us to where we want to go, where we want to be, which is helping people share and connect with the things that they care about. So for us, big giant banners are not going to work. So how do we improve the quality of our ads? Most ad systems, if someone clicks on an ad, they're basically saying, I like this ad, and then the company shows more of those ads, right? For Facebook, what we saw was that was actually not a good enough signal of quality. For example, dating sites were highly clicked on by married men, right? And if you're approaching this in a data-driven, no, not true. If you're approaching this in a data-driven way, you're like, this is awesome. Let's show it to more married men, get more people in through the system, right? Everything's hunky-dory. But for us, we know that married men that's not a good lead for a site that's looking to get a dating site going. So we added this ability to X out an ad. So you roll over the ad, you X it out, and then you tell us, well, here's why I X'd it out, right? It's misleading. It's uninteresting to me. And just this little interaction and that little bit of feedback allows us to make much smarter choices about the ads that we show people. So instead of just click-through, we now have click-through plus the rate of Xing out plus like what they thought about the ad. And when we have misleading ads, I mean, they just drop out of the system really fast because people report them really fast. So it's almost like we're crowdsourcing the quality aspect of it. We're still not quite there, but if you've been on Facebook for a couple years, you've noticed that the ad quality is much better. And that's actually led to much better revenues. So being data informed, and I would say that in Silicon Valley, while being data informed or being data driven is where people tend to go, outside of Silicon Valley, I've actually seen much more like people going towards the opposite direction, where they just have no idea what the effect of the stuff that they're doing does. So kind of finding that nice sweet spot is huge. The last one is leveraging platforms, and this one I think is the most powerful one that we do. And for us, it means either using existing platforms or building and making new ones. So let me show you guys a few examples. 2008 election, seems like a while ago, but one of our designers joined a couple weeks before the 2008 election, and he said, Ben, I really want to help get the vote out there. I was like, all right, what do you want to do? And he's like, well, what if we created a page where people could get information about where they can vote and tell people that they wanted to vote? I was like, great. Design, you have no creative director, so just design it, get some engineers, and build it. He's like, really? That's how it works here? I was like, yeah. He's like, yes, let's do it. So he designed this page within a few days and got a couple engineers on board to implement it. And it seems pretty straightforward, right? It's like, we know where you live, so we're telling you where you can go vote. We're telling you if it's kind of past the registration date. But the most genius thing that they did was this I voted button. And what that did is when you clicked I voted, it would send a message through the newsfeed to all your friends saying, I voted today, did you vote? All of a sudden you're a person, you're like, I don't know if I feel like voting. I voted today, did you vote? I voted today, did you vote? Right? You hear that over and over, and all of a sudden it kind of starts influencing you. So here it was a case of leveraging the newsfeed for distribution. And when we came in that day, we were hoping for 40,000, 50,000 people to kind of click that thing. And in real time, this is what it looked like. And by the end of the day, 5.5 million people had done this. The average person had about 130 friends. So that's 3 people spending 2 weeks of their time and creating hundreds of millions of interactions of saying, I voted today, did you vote? Talk about the leveraged use of their time, three people over 2 weeks. That's pretty powerful. Pixel Cloud. So we have no creative director, right? Usually creative directors, all the stuff goes to them, and they kind of say oh, well, this isn't consistent, and they kind of guide the direction. A couple years ago, we noticed that if we were going to scale as a team, we would need tools for sharing and collaboration. Our designers tend to be pretty technically minded, and so one of the designers designed this tool, design and built. So it allows you to take a screenshot of what you're working on. You type a little explanation. It goes to this tool where there's a feed of all the mocks of the stuff that you're working on. It uses Facebook UI, so you don't have to relearn it as a Facebook employee. All of a sudden, you get the new screenshot of the stuff that you're working on. Here's a shot of something that I posted, and I give a little explanation. I tag it. Again, you see how it looks very familiar, right? It's actually pulling in my Facebook profile and everything else. And then you can put a little comment on it. So we use this as a way to distribute the information and get collaboration and get feedback constantly. Instead of oh, let's do critique Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have ongoing critiques all the time. Whenever you're ready, you just go there and you can critique. So you're saying, well, I don't have super technical designers. I can't build a tool like that. Well, tools like this exist online. Skitch lets you do this. You create a Skitch group for your team, let them post stuff up on the board there, and then just give each other feedback. 37 signals, right? They have Campfire. You could do it there. And actually, what started cannibalizing Pixel Cloud for us is Facebook. If you guys have been on Facebook recently, we launched groups, right? It's a way to communicate with a smaller team of individuals. Groups has started cannibalizing Pixel Cloud. We've noticed a lot. Uh-oh, someone's calling me. I won't take it. So groups, people have started sharing a lot more on groups than they do on Pixel Cloud. And we're embracing it. We're saying, well, you're already on Facebook. You get a notification when someone posts to this group. And so all of a sudden we can, the speed of iteration and the exchange of ideas happens even faster now because we don't have to go to a separate area. We're already on Facebook all the time. So that's pretty powerful. So here we're leveraging tools for sharing, right, and collaboration. Translating Facebook. This was about 1.5 years ago. We had the daunting task of figuring out how do we get Facebook into every language on Earth. Our goal at Facebook is to get it to every single human being on Earth. And the question is, how do we translate it to every single language? So we went to a translation house, and we said, we want to translate Facebook. How long would that take? And they're like, how many strings, how many words do you guys have? And we said about 75,000. And they're like, crap. That's going to take about a month per language, right? And so you say, okay, well, that's not too bad, but there's, what, 100, 110 languages? So that's a long time. That's not going to work. And then what happens, how do you maintain that, right? We change the site all the time. So we decided that we would actually build a platform to let users translate the site for us. We would have to build a tool to let users do that. We would have to wrap every single string on the site in a function. We would have to figure out how to let people vote. We would have to hope and trust that our users would do it. We didn't even know. And this is one of the things when you're building your own platforms is this is what you give up. You give up a little bit of control, and there's a lot of upfront costs. And 5 months into this process, when we could have had German and French and Spanish and some of these other Italian, some of these other big languages, and we had only English, the team looks around and thinks, holy crap, I don't know if we made the right call here. But we pushed through, and about 6 months into the project, we finally launched this. And the second we flipped this on in France, the entire site was translated in a day, 24 hours. And then we just started launching every other language, and every other language took, a couple days, 3 days, 4 days, whatever it is. But a couple months later, we had the site in 75 languages, all done by users, right? And all ready to just continue the upkeep. So when I design something, and I code it, and I put it online, I wake up the next day, and it's available in every single language. That's pretty powerful, right? And then what we did is we actually made this API available to everyone in the world. So actually any site can use the same kind of back end to translate their site. So now like any site in the world can be translated by your users. So we're always thinking like, how do we create a platform and then how do we expand it and make it available to more and more people? How many of you guys have been on Kickstarter? Very cool. Kickstarter is a platform to raise money, but it does a lot more than that. So this industrial designer, when Apple launched the, that little iPod, right? The little square one. Every designer that saw that was like, oh, that should be a watch, right? But Apple didn't have kind of a wristwatch to it. And so this designer said, well, it would take me about 25 grand to manufacture this thing. And if you're an individual, 25 grand is a lot of money. And so he thought, well, what if I came up with a concept and pitched it to people and say, like, well, does anyone think this is a good idea? If so, like, will you back me? Will you help me create this thing? And he put it on Kickstarter, and he raised almost $1 million. And not only did he raise money, not only is this funding, but these are sales, right? This is like, he hasn't made a product yet. He's made one. He sold 13,512. And not only that, these are people who feel like they're owners of the company. So they've bought the thing you haven't made, they've funded you, and they're going to be ambassadors for everything that you do from here on out, right? 13,512 founders of this company. This platform basically removes your ability to use, I don't have money for that as an excuse, right? That's pretty powerful. So leveraging platforms, that could be hugely powerful in the way you guys do your work. I'm going to give you guys one more example so there's no doubt of the power of platforms. How many of you guys know the story behind FARC in Colombia? Not that many, interesting. So FARC in Colombia is a rebel group. Whether or not you agree with their policies, a lot of us would agree that the way they go about trying to enact change is crap. They kidnap people, they set roadside bombs, they try to create an air of fear amongst the population in Colombia. And Colombians are afraid to speak out because if you speak out and someone from FARC finds out about it, your parent can go missing, your brother can go missing, daughter would go missing, right? This is a pretty powerful method of silencing people. But one day, this guy, Oscar Morales, came home from work. He's 33, he's an engineer, and he says, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of the fear. I'm sick of what these guys have done to my country. I want to do something about it. And he comes home and he creates this group on Facebook, and it says, "A million voices against the FARC," and he has this little bit of graphic design on the side. He's not a designer, but he's absolutely a copywriter, and he's absolutely a designer. And he's not a formally trained designer, but the way he kind of created this mark and this language was very well thought out. So he creates this group. He puts himself out there. He knows that he's endangered everyone that he knows and loves. And he's kind of sitting there, and he's shaking, and he says, I gotta put it out there. I hope people kind of respond. And he goes and plays soccer. And he comes back, and about 10,000 people have joined. He's like, holy crap. He goes to bed, and the next morning he wakes up, and 150,000 people have joined. And they all say the same thing. We're with you. We want to do something about it. Lead us. Tell us, what do we do? The previous day he was an engineer. Now all of a sudden he's like a political activist. He's a leader. And so he decides, I'm going to mobilize everyone that I can. He creates one of these groups for every country in the world. He says, we're going to take to the streets on the same day, February 4th. I'm going to use Google Docs to communicate. I'm going to use Facebook to communicate. And I'm going to mobilize as many people as I can. And I hope to God that people take to the streets. February 4th came around. And here's what the streets look like in Europe. And here's what it looked like in Colombia. 12 million people that day took to the streets against the FARC. And this scene should look very familiar because we've seen it now in the Middle East, right? Same thing. Using those platforms to mobilize a huge, huge amount of people. So you guys should absolutely be left with no doubt that individuals have now the power to enact huge change. So I'll leave you guys with one final thought. So leverage platforms. At Facebook, the reason we joined was not to make, not to like improve our portfolios or to build like pretty objects, but we really wanted to change the world. Like, I mince no words about it. The reason when I was at CBS and I had fun there and it was sexy and it was cool and David Letterman's on TV and telling you like, holding up your work, that's awesome, right? But at the end of the day, I woke up one day and I said, I am pushing more people to watch TV. Like, this isn't what I got into design. In my view, designers, like, our role is to enact meaningful and positive social change. And so that's kind of why I joined Facebook. And what I hope is that everyone in this room takes these and doesn't apply them towards making pretty things or doing stuff in a vacuum, but actually like enacting positive social change. So thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.